Hello there, I'm Dr. Curtis Finch, Superintendent of Deer Valley Unified School District. Welcome to a brand new episode of the award-winning Supe Scoop podcast. There's a very important election coming on November 5th. Not only will DVUSD residents have a chance to vote for the United States President, a state senator, and other state legislature seats, they also have a chance to support DVUSD by voting on a bond and an M&O override that our governing board brought to the public earlier this year. We'll talk about the override and what it funds in our next podcast. But today, we're going to focus on the bond. A bond provides funding for capital projects such as building new schools or modernizing existing schools. Without bond funding, many major projects that focus on school safety, security, and growth cannot be started, often putting school districts years behind residential growth trends. With the population boom we're seeing right here in our district, thanks mostly to the construction of the TSMC chip plant, we can't afford to fall behind in taking care of our schools. As you learned today, a bond is more than just buildings. It's buses, athletic fields, auditorium sound systems, carpet, and paint, and especially important this time of year, air conditioning. Let's start with a talk about HVAC and other important facility purchases and maintenance. Jeff Long has worked at DVUSD for a long time. He knows firsthand how the bond positively impacts our schools and neighborhoods, and more importantly, what happens if and when bond dollars dry up.
My name is Jeff Long, and I am the Facility Director for Deer Valley Unified School District, and have been for 33 years now.
Wow, that's a long time. So you know a lot about our system. So tell me a little bit how the bond dollars impact your area.
Well, there's many areas that they impact the facilities. I'll start with the most important to me is HVAC. Over the years, we've done a lot of retrofits to schools, which are very expensive. We would not be able to do that with regular M&O dollars. We have some tremendous systems in the district. However, they have to be maintained, and they are a living, breathing animal. And we have chilled systems at a lot of the schools. We have different types. A lot of those schools, it's eggs all in one basket thing, so they require a lot of maintenance. One of the really hard things right now that we're contending with is just the lack of manpower. Right now we're using 5 different outside HVAC companies to cover the tremendous amount of HVAC that we have in the district, but we use a ton of bond dollars. I believe this last year we were totaling it up, and I think we used $2.7 million of the bond just doing the things that we do to upkeep the systems that we have. And that's the hard thing. Other things we do would be, like I said, starting with the most important, we have carpeting in schools. We replace carpet in schools every 12 years. And sometimes it'll go into 13, depending on how well the carpet's holding up. And we try and really hold to that. And we've been able to hold to that with bond money. We also do the painting of the interiors and the exteriors of the campuses. Each year, we have a set amount that we like to say we spend on painting. I would say each year we spend anywhere from more than $1 million to $1.3 million, $1.4 million, and that comes out of the bond each year. And we're able to maintain a 7-year cycle on both interior and exterior on schools. Now, it kind of moves a little bit depending on the school and the activities on the campuses, but, usually with 7 to 8 years, we're repainting interior and exterior. And we don't do those all at the same time. We stagger them so that one year we do exterior, and then maybe the following year or the year before we would have done the interiors. So we do the painting. We're very aggressive and have been, and in some ways it gives us a little wiggle room sometimes, money-wise. Asphalt parking lots is a big deal. I would say in Deer Valley, and I know a lot of people in other school districts that are in my same position, we have one of the most aggressive taking care of concrete and asphalt in our schools than most any other school district in the state of Arizona. We seal coat our parking lots every other year. we're trying to work it so that we're in every third year, because it starts to become like a little bit of a scheduling nightmare with all the summer school stuff and different things like that. Concrete work every other year. We'll go out, we look for trip hazards, those kind of things at schools to see what we can do with that.
So the bond dollars obviously produce new schools or new buildings, but they also, we work with our other non-new buildings, I guess you would call them, used buildings. Describe a little bit of the scale of Deer Valley. How many cubic feet of, do you have an idea of how many buildings, how many roofs, how do you, the scale of this machine is
we always
impressive.
say 5 million square feet under roof, which does not count grounds. That's just under roof. We count now 40 schools, which really, I count it as 40 schools. It's probably more like 41 if you count things like Innovation Center, that part of it. But 45 facilities, because we count like Northern Services Center for the buses. We count this site here. We count district office. We count the warehouse. So 45 sites. You know, when I first came to Deer Valley, we had 19 schools.
Well, you doubled, almost tripled.
We a little bit more than doubled.
Yeah, impressive. It's you've said you've been here 33 years. What? Just describe Deer Valley if we never had a bond, and we've been passing bonds for 30 years. What would we be like if we didn't have that?
Well, I can almost guarantee you the exterior of our campuses would not look the way that they look. You know, you'd have, I mean, if you have a schedule of every 7 years to do paint jobs on buildings, you'd have a fairly dilapidated exterior. You know, your parking lots, if you don't get the oils back in the parking lots, you're going to start losing them. You know, the interiors of the campus would be, you know, there's only so much you can do with the carpet. Hopefully they take pretty good care of it. Sometimes you have a little wiggle room on some of those where you can go maybe 12 years. Sometimes you can eke into 13, maybe 14, but that's probably about it for the cycle of carpet. And it would just be, and I'm not even talking about roofing yet. I mean, roofing right now, you know, we usually don't put a huge number in roofing, and we probably should do a bit more with that. And it's probably, you know, I've been thinking about us passing this bond and thinking, you know, we really need to get this because, you know, we have to subsidize, you know, even with us reaching out to, you know, the State Facilities Board to get some roofs done. The time cycle on this could go 2-3 years where we just can't afford to do that, and we might have to invest some of our own money, which we're actually doing right now out of the bond that we're in. It's small increments compared to a full school. You know, you're talking about a couple $1 million in roofing on a single school, where if I piecemeal it, it's going to be $250,000, $250,000, $300,000, and the school doesn't get done at one time, and it just becomes kind of a bit of a nightmare to maintain that kind of stuff.
It sounds like you are a big proponent of preventive maintenance. And how important is that with using bond dollars and keeping our district top shelf?
Oh, it's huge. You know, so I've had the luxury over the years that I've worked at Deer Valley to be able to actually start a preventive maintenance crew years ago, and we've maintained the crew. They work on nights, and they do a tremendous job of using, and they do use bond dollars. They take care of roofing. They do a lot of interior work with our special systems. You know, the filter changes on our HVAC equipment are done by them. You know, any of that kind of stuff. But also the preventative maintenance outside of that would be any of the stuff that we would normally do as a maintenance department. We you know, I'll give you an example of restroom renovation. We have a pretty big number in there from the last bond that we've used over the years to maintain, like, the fixtures in restrooms. They have an end of their useful life, so they have to be changed out. And these products, and especially nowadays, it just seems like in the last 4 or 5 years, the prices of things have gone up so tremendously. I mean, you know, we're looking at quotes, And unfortunately for me, I have the years of service in Deer Valley, where I look back and go, it's never been this much. Why? How can it be double the amount that I paid? And, I always think about it like it was last year, but it was really 5 years ago, kind of thing. But we are able to use that. The hand wash basins in the bathrooms, that's all preventative maintenance. We have some really great crews that actually are very inventive about how we use the money to be able to take care of schools like that. And it's hard because, even when you look at our budget and facilities, and I know our budget's fairly tailored to exactly what it is that we have to pay for, but, we're talking about the working budget for facilities in Deer Valley is like $1.7 million. So if you think about the amount of money that is dedicated out of the M&O just for facilities related stuff, we have to be very careful. And without the advantage of having bond dollars, which lets us spread that a little thinner, to schools to where, you can use that money for positive things at schools. So I think that's a big deal.
It sounds a lot like your home ownership. It's the same concept. Mm-hmm. You just have to stay on top of your house, on top of your car, on top of your landscaping, or it gets away from you, and then it becomes a real problem down the road.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Well, thanks for your 33 years of service. Keep up the great work. Appreciate it. Maybe buildings and building maintenance is boring to you. Well, let's have some fun at a football game or a theater performance. Bond dollars play a big part in field maintenance, auditorium repairs, and sports and band equipment and uniforms. Can you imagine trying to play basketball with your shorts pinned to your jersey because the elastic band is no longer there to hold it up? That actually happened at Barry Goldwater High School several years ago. But as you hear from our athletic director and assistant principal, Chandler Evans, bond dollars not only save Goldwater's athletics dignity, those dollars help raise Goldwater's athletics, arts, music to a whole new level.
Chandler Evans, assistant principal, athletic director.
All right, tell us a little bit about the bond, this last bond issue, and how it impacted Goldwater.
Yeah, so the biggest impact was the football field. We have turned our natural grass football field into artificial grass, and it has been a lifesaver as far as being able to get our football team out on the field earlier due to the heat. It has an infill in it that supposedly if we water it, it cools it down, and we have seen a significant change in the degree of temperature on that. So it allows us to get our football field or our football players out there a little bit earlier so they can get home and get rested up and do their homework.
Do the a little bit more about that field? I remember the old days when we had to water it, we had to line it, we had people had to maintain it. So that's obviously a fiscal piece of it. But how about just overall use? I'm imagining everybody's cousin's on it now.
Everybody and their cousin is on it. And we are fortunate that we have a practice facility because that field, the artificial field, would be used 24 hours of the day. But now we're able to have our flag football team get on it. We're able to have our freshman, sophomore team, football team get on it. We're able to have our band get on it. And we still have teams, our soccer team that still will practice on it too. But that's just in the fall. And so it does. It takes, in the past with the natural grass, we would have just dirt by the end of the season and it wouldn't be a safe place to play. Yeah.
You said a little bit about the band. I know the marching band jumped up 4 or 5 places at the end of the school year, and I talked to the instructor, and she said that the consistent lines made a big difference. I know it happened with the other bands in our school district as well. So it's impacted the fine arts as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, they're a phenomenal group of kids too, and they work so hard. They get out there at 6 o'clock after the football practices are over, and then they practice all the way up until 9 o'clock. And the wear and tear that they used to do, they would have to take their own paint cans out there and try and put the lines in order for them to be in sync with everybody. Because when they go to a competition and the lines are there, it could be off a little bit, and that causes them to be off a little bit.
Tell me a little bit more about the impact of the bond on other parts of the Goldwater High School.
Yeah, the other part that it really impacted is our weight room. we were able to upgrade our weight room, not only in just the indoor facility. We're fortunate enough that we have a couple areas in what we call the boneyard that we were able to artificially turf back there too. So that allowed us to get more teams in the weight room at one time. I feel like in the past when we had constrictions in the weight room, it limited some of the teams that didn't feel comfortable going in. If there's a large team in there, swim is not always going to feel comfortable going in there. And so this has allowed us to have the two separate rooms, including the outdoor area. We'll have up to 2 or 3 teams in there at one time now, and it makes a world of difference just athletically on their performance.
And the last time a student is in practice, then they're back home and working on their homework as well, so it impacts their family life as well.
Yes, correct.
Tell me a little bit more about some of the other impacts the bond dollars have had on your students and maybe on your staff. What have you seen?
Yeah, so before the bond, typically here at Goldwater, the uniforms have been passed down for many, many years. There was probably 10 to 12-year-old uniforms still in rotation. And it happened to be some of the lower levels. But I'm going to reference basketball, for example. We had basketball shorts that had lost the elasticity in them. And these kids are trying to put these shorts on. They're safety pinning them. They're rolling them. And so the bond has allowed us to get into a uniform rotation where we have been able to put every kid in a newer uniform at least. If not just all varsity, that then their newer stuff was handed down. But I can safely say and pleasantly say that no kid is wearing a short that doesn't have any elastic. And so that has been a huge difference. Our kids, they walk around with more confidence. They feel more confident when they show up to another school and they're all in the same uniform and it looks nice. So it's done a world of good for us.
I know too you're probably over other activities like choir and things like that, theater that uses the auditorium, and that's been upgraded through the bond.
And that has been upgraded, yeah.
How has that impacted kids?
Yeah, so the sound system in there was kind of spotty at times, and so when they would have their musicals, sometimes you could hear the student, sometimes you couldn't. And it's such a disservice to the people that come, especially the parents and the grandparents that come. They want to be able to see their student and perform, and it does. It's a little frustrating, but yes, with the bond, with the help of the bond, it has provided a new sound system in there. The lighting system is new, and so yeah, it's super nice now. It's upgraded. Because we're talking about sound systems. I'm going to talk about the sound system at the stadium. Before the bond came through and we were able to use some of that money to get a new sound system down at the stadium, we were actually driving out on the flatbed 2 large speakers that we would have to hook up for the sound system. And now that we have them on the regular poles, just like every other school in the district or in the state, it's made a huge difference. And so very much beneficial and thankful.
It sounds like the bond issue, the last bond was very instrumental in the growth and the excellence that's been taking place here at Goldwater. So thank you for your job and what you do and your impact with activities with the kids and being an assistant principal here. Appreciate it and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Whether it's sports, arts, or education, you have to get the students to the school on time and in good shape. The DVUSD Transportation Department literally makes the wheels go around, and bond dollars help provide new and safer vehicles for students and staff. Nick Franklin is the director of the Transportation Department, and he shares how bond dollars not just help keep the vehicles moving, but also how a new bus barn saves dollars on routine maintenance.
My name is Nick Franklin. I'm the Director of Transportation for Deer Valley. I have been involved in transportation since I was 18 now, so I've been doing bus for a few years. I'm now 54 years old, so I've been doing it for a couple of days. The bond is a very integral part of what we do in transportation. It's kind of what keeps the wheels on the bus rolling round and round for us every year, trying to keep up with new technology, more fuel efficiency, just safer vehicles for the kids.
Talk a little bit about, I know in our last bond we built a garage up north, it's northern garage. Why did we do it? How does it make us efficient? How does it improve service to kids?
Yeah, as Deer Valley, we're a large district. We're 360-something square miles, and we have such a large district we actually have another yard, a remote yard of the northern half of our districts. And it takes quite a bit of, not having mechanics and having it up there. We actually have to shuttle buses all the way down to the southern portion of our district. So we actually built a new building with the infrastructure that's coming in up there with a new chip plant. There's going to be a real need for it. So also we don't have to shuttle the buses down, pay for the fuel, put the miles on the buses and all that stuff just to get them down to the garage. Now we can service them at our new yard, which was paid for out of our last bond. So that was one of the features that we promised to the taxpayers that we'd take care of.
Tell me a little bit about our current fleet, kind of their age, what they do, and maybe how a new bus becomes a factor in why that's good for an angle to think about.
Yeah, our current fleet size for just school buses is right around 200 on our fleet. Our average age of life on our bus fleet is about 13 and a half years, maybe a little closer to 14 years average age of life. We've actually been able to get that down from our last bond. We were close to 16 years, so with the last bond, we're trying to get the numbers moving the correct way. Even in our current fleet right now, we have quite a few buses that are somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000 miles on them. So that's 300 to 400,000 miles in city driving miles, not on the highway stuff. So over the years, the metal just starts getting old and fatigued. Even when we have an amazing staff to be able to rebuild these things, sometimes the bolt holes just wear out on the iron. The iron gets old. So they need a little bit of help.
The bond also helps support our white fleet, which is, how is that used and how is that fleet doing?
Yeah, so that's actually even a little older on our white fleet series. So the average age of life on those is about 25 years. Sometimes that is for staff vehicles at the campuses. Sometimes it's for support vehicles for our IS&T, which is our IT department or district office or whatever. We have approximately 300 vehicles in that fleet, so they're getting a little long in the tooth. They certainly need some love to keep those things going.
Talk about the new bus. What does the quote-unquote new bus offer to the district, to the student, in relationship to why don't you just run this one until the wheels fall off? You mentioned a little bit about the Arizona weather beating them to death, but talk a little bit about what a new bus does to the system.
Yeah, so there's actually some new legislation that goes into manufacturing new buses. It's referred to as compartmentalization for student safety. And, if they're involved in an accident and kind of stuff, there's some new technology. That's truly amazing. The new buses that we're getting in now, on average, I would say they get about 9 miles a gallon, to where the old buses get about 5 miles a gallon. So there's truly just an efficiency on just getting the new diesel technology. So we're not, putting out the old dirty diesel technology. Now we have the new clean diesel technology. So it even gets better fuel economy as well.
Talk a little bit about the need for drivers, and obviously if the drivers are driving newer equipment, it's you have a better chance of picking up a driver to jump in it. It's just a big station wagon that's painted yellow, right?
Yeah. So many years ago, one of the earlier bonds that Deer Valley had passed, one of the deals they put to the voters was they wanted to air conditioning the buses, and that was one of the things they got passed in the prior bond. So we keep getting better and better technology, and the buses are newer, they got better air conditioning. Also we have some technology money that we use from the bond to make sure we have bus tracking, make sure we have great camera systems on the bus that we can record and see what happened, go back and look at what happened on any given day in case we have an incident. Also with technology money as well, we've also done some new routing software which routes our buses, and basically we can find out where they're going, the pickup times and all that kind of stuff. There's also now a parent app, so the parent app can look at their student stop, their times, their locations, and their bus number. So, we're using the technology like we said we would.
I'm sure you're always looking for drivers. You got anything coming up in the near future?
Absolutely. We have a job fair coming up on October 9th over here at our transportation office, which is 18360 North 51st Avenue from 9 to noon. If you want to stop on by, we have some amazing opportunities. We'll hire you on the spot. Come on by and come see us. Or you can visit the website at dvusd.org/join DVUSD.
Do you provide any training with that, or what's this gonna? What am I getting into if I decide to do this?
Yeah, so we're a bigger district, so we actually offer all the training in-house, so you don't have to do anything. The only thing you have to do is go down to DMV and just pass your driving test for your CDL. We take care of all the information. It's all paid for. Training here on site, we take care of all that.
How's it to work here? I hear we keep winning the Forbes Best Mid-Sized Employer. What about your culture? Is it a great place to work?
Yeah, I think that's probably our biggest key. Compared to our comparative districts around us, I believe in hiring on culture and what the attitude is. I like the attitude first, so I can teach you ability, but I want the right attitude when you come in. So we are really pushing for that. We've been fortunate to have a lot of people keep joining us from other places.
Thanks again for all your leadership, and looking forward to see what happens in November related to the bond and its impact on transportation. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, sir.
Those are just a few of the positive impacts the bond will have on DVUSD if approved by voters on November 5th. For more about facts on the bond, visit dvusd.org/bond, and don't forget to vote. You have until October 7th to register, and you could do so at dvusd.org/vote. The people have spoken, and you can listen to the Supe Scoop at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. You can also listen to new episodes and previous episodes at dvusd.org/Supe Scoop. I'm Dr. Curtis Finch, and you're all caught up on everything happening at DVUSD with the Supe Scoop podcast.